What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you're doing any sort of DFS or sports betting this NFL season, make sure that's where you're getting it done. I'm Blaiden Kirkner, and as always, by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash, and we're talking about the greatest trade deadline of all time. The Jets made sure of it. They were like, if nothing else, we're gonna go off and give away our two best players on defense. And it sets up their future quite nicely. And it won't be the only thing in New York that has a great future now. So it's going to be a good time. But Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. I'm leaving today late at night for Wisconsin. I'm making my trek, starting my trek. I guess I'm landing in Minnesota, then driving to Wisconsin. On my way to see Packers-Eagles on Monday night. So that I'm packing my bags. I'm mentally preparing. I'm hoping that it is not just a blowout and the team implodes with Kraft and the Eagles are just back to their old selves and it's just like a total massacre. I don't think it will be. But I am a little bit concerned after the way we just looked. I wish that we won this game and I could go into this with a little bit more hype and less nervousness.
It'll be one of the best regular season games of the year, at least walking into it. That's how it feels like. Now, I mean, maybe it's trash or whatever, but in terms of like learning about who's good and who's not, we're halfway through the season. Feels like teams are starting to become what they're going to be. All the trades have been made, obviously, which we'll get into. So that's a good one to go to if you're going to go to one.
I think it's got to be the second most important Packer game that I've ever attended after.
And what's the first?
After week 18 or week 17 at the time, 2012, I believe it was, when the Vikings were pushing to make the playoffs and Peterson was going for the record and they played the Packers in the last week of the season at the Metrodome. That's probably still number one, but this has got to be number two in terms of important football games I've attended.
It's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I've never attended an NFL game that important, so.
No, you have not. You have absolutely not.
It's a little bit harder with NFL games to find one that really means a lot outside of the playoffs. Like an individual one with college football, it's easy. You know, you kind of know. Although, I mean, I guess I tried to.
It's easier when your team is good.
Yeah. And the Browns are always trash as fuck. So
yeah, you know that. Yeah, that was my whole point.
Hating.
So,
I went to an ASU Oregon game that was pretty important once, and I've been to a WNBA finals game that was pretty important, and I've been to the Waste Management Open in Phoenix. I guess I have no idea how important that is on golf's schedule, but I was there, so if it's important, that might also be one of them.
Fair
enough.
Matt,
do we want to get into the trades?
Oh, I was going to ask how you're doing.
I don't got anything in particular.
Okay. Then we'll just get into the trades, man. Let's start with the New York Jets, man. How many first-round picks do they have over the next 2 years? Like 20?
They own the entire first round, and it's still not going to go well for them. They have 5, right? They have 3 in 2027, right? And then 2 in 2026, because 2 for Sauce and then 1 in 2027 for Quinnen, plus 2 of their own.
Yes. So
yeah,
5.
They've got 5 total.
Do we like it? Do we like it for the Jets?
Yeah, I like what they did a lot. Okay. I'll be completely honest with you. I mean, first off, with Sauce, he's a great player. I'm excited for the Colts, and we'll get into that in a second. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you're the Jets, you have to feel like you're about to go through a pretty big rebuild. Now, rebuilds can happen fast in the NFL, but they're probably still like a year away from being a year away. And the thing about cornerbacks, I feel like, is that they age so poorly. Their lifespan is really short a lot of the time. Even elite guys can fall off quicker than you think. Now, I don't think it's a guarantee that that's going to happen to Sauce or anything. But if you're the Jets and you know you're going to be rebuilding and you know it might be a couple of seasons before you are really going to be competitive, might not be till Sauce is 28 that you're really got a good chance to win. And if that's the case, like, do you want to risk potentially not using him when he's at his best or not like really getting any value out of that? I think the answer is pretty fairly like no, you probably don't. And if you get a good offer, like 2 first-round draft picks, which to me feels like the high end of what a cornerback can be worth, then it totally makes sense to make that move. With Quinnen Williams, I kind of feel the same way. He's a little bit older. I think he's 27 right now, whereas Sauce is only 25. And while Williams is a really great player too, first and a second's really good value. I think it puts you in a position not only to have a bunch of future assets, but to like maybe tank a little bit and be in a good position to land the quarterback potentially over the next 2 years. They possibly didn't need the help in the first place to tank. I mean, they have 1 win right now, of course, but I think that it's no guarantee that the rebuild goes well because they made these trades. Of course, you can just miss on the picks, but I don't dislike it at all. And if they're going to miss on their picks going forward, then the rebuild's going to be bad anyways. You kind of have to have some faith in yourself to draft well if you want to be a good team.
Yeah, I definitely like having the volume of picks, like you say, Matt, just giving yourself shots at a quarterback, right? And even if you are tanking, right, which, I mean, we see the Saints are horrible, the Browns are horrible, the Titans are horrible. You know, you don't know who's going to have the first overall pick. And so having 2 or 3 first-round picks in a given draft, that gives you a lot of flexibility with either A, if you want to trade up and try and give yourself a shot at the number 1 overall, or if you just want to sit and pick multiple high-level guys in the first round. So yeah, I think it'll end up working out really well for them. It does suck though that you have to give up 2 players under 30 in this rebuild, because I feel like in a lot of cases those are the types of guys you want to keep around. And I even I propose should the Jets trade Sauce earlier on in the season, and then we were like, no, they did just give him this big extension, and he's only 24, or 25, so
yeah. You're like, nah, that's not going to happen. But now that it has, I don't know. I'm not against it.
I don't hate it either, but I do think the Jets have gotten a little bit too glazed after yesterday. Like, I don't think that they just cleaned up and that the Cowboys and Colts side of this is just like an F and the Jets are an A. And I feel like that's definitely the mentality from the ESPN grades that came out. And that kind of sets the tone for, I feel like, the dialogue overall. I don't feel that way about the Jets. Like, I don't think it's an A and an F. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe a B and a B, a B plus and a B. Maybe for the Cowboys, a B and a C. I don't know. How big do you think the discrepancy is between the winning side and the losing side here in these trades?
Is there a losing side is the first question.
It depends. I think it kind of doesn't matter to the Jets one way or the other. You gave up Quinnen Williams and you got back a first and a second. Whether or not it's a good move for the Cowboys is kind of irrelevant to you. My opinion is that I like the Colts being aggressive. I think it completely changes what they can do on defense. Clearly, they need cornerback badly, and now they go from a team that, Theo, you tweeted out they're starting Xavier Howard like this season.
Until he retired in the middle of a game.
Until he retired. And now they have Sauce Gardner. I mean, can you have him on an island and change how the other side of the defense plays? I feel like you have a lot of options. I mean, he's good in man, he's good in zone, so he's like a weapon. And now he's on a team that can really compete. I'm super pumped to see that. Now, was the price maybe a little bit high? Yeah, the Colts are paying a premium to bring in a premium talent in the middle of the season to try to maximize this window. That's expensive, but you can totally see the vision there as they're surprisingly good. They haven't been this good in a long time. And they, the NFL feels wide open. Okay, I can get down with that. The Cowboys are completely different. I just don't think that Quinnen Williams gets them close enough. I don't think they're close enough right now. And I do think overall, Williams is a great player. He's an unbelievable run defender. And I'm sure that what they're trying to accomplish by making this move on some level will be accomplished because of that. I mean, there's just not many dudes who both have the anchor that Williams has to take on multiple blockers and the range to go and shed guys and make plays that are sort of way out of a lot of other dudes' range. But he is 27. I think that the Cowboys are Still overall, not a great defense.
Right.
I question what exactly their game plan is with the defensive tackles that they're all paying right now, because they've got 3. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like overall the build of this defense is one that's being come up with on the fly by Jerry Jones rather than like a coherent plan. They still have 2 first-round draft picks next year. Maybe they nail like 2 defensive selections and the defense ends up being pretty good. And overall you say, okay, we got here a weird way, but in the end, maybe it's kind of worked out fine, right? Yeah. But I just think their process overall has clearly not been anything that was super well thought out, in my opinion. And maybe I shouldn't like downgrade the Williams trade too much, because maybe I'm only thinking that because of the Parsons stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But overall, I think
you have to. Every move that the Cowboys make has to be looked at in some regard through the lens of the Parsons deal, right? They are only making this deal because they made the Parsons deal. That's the way I see it.
That's probably true. I can agree with that.
In that case, the deal overall is like Parsons for Williams, a first rounder in 2026, a second rounder in 2026, a pick swap, right, in 2027. They're giving up the better of the 2 picks, I think. And then they're saving like $55 million total in the difference between the 2 contracts. Is that worth it to you?
I think, well, they took on Kenny Clark's money.
Yeah, true.
So I don't think they're really I don't know how much money they're even really saving here. I really haven't.
I don't think they're saving anything, dude.
Yeah, and they use some of that money to extend Bland too, which has been kind of a disaster.
Yeah, I really have an issue with them paying 3 defensive tackles now, like huge money.
Yeah.
And it just feels like something that's happened specifically because, the Cowboys were hunting for something certain, and then they moved off of Parsons, and then it had to be better, rather than it being a little bit more controlled than that, I'll say. So I don't think they got a bad player. I think like the level of loss that this is not that great, and they still are ahead and draft assets, I guess, overall.
Yep.
And their defense is better than it was yesterday, but they're really far back now with the loss to the Cardinals, and I just don't love their process. It's hard to.
Yeah, I see that to some extent. They're 3-5-1. They've got a 6% chance to make the playoffs, but I don't want to harp on that part of it too much, just because, like, if they made this move in the offseason, would anybody, like, blank? Like, the Bears...
You're saying hypothetically, they trade Parsons, and then they trade for Quinnen Williams in the offseason?
Yeah, instead of midseason, because right now, why this move is being kind of lambasted and just the obvious elephant in the room is that their season ended on Monday night, pretty much, right? They suffered this backbreaking loss. Their playoff odds plummeted, and that's exactly when they make a move for Quinnen Williams and they give up draft capital. Like, it's weird to do in the middle of the season, but if they did it in the offseason, would it feel as bad? I guess I don't know.
I think it might, just because when the Parsons trade broke, dude, that was earth-shattering news. It's one of the biggest trades in NFL history, and if they immediately turned around and gave up like the picks that they had just acquired for Micah Parsons for Quinnen Williams, I think a lot of people would have been like, well, why did they do that? That makes total.
I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know.
Well,
go ahead.
I think we've criticized teams on here before for being buyers when they're not really competitive at the deadline.
The Bears,
specifically,
right?
I'm thinking about Montez Sweat with the Bears.
But this is a very different situation than that, because Quinnen Williams is one of the best trench players in the entire league. Like, sure. Quinnen Williams has a crazy first step, like lateral agility through the roof, tons of power, like great run defending range, like you said, Matt. Like, that guy is an all-pro defensive tackle. Like, that guy could be, I don't know if he'll be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he'll stack that kind of career, but I think right now, today, he's kind of in that echelon of talent. Like,
he's got that kind of blood. Yeah.
He's crazy. Like, he is a total mismatch on everybody one-on-one. You need to game plan around him. Like, he is a crazy good defensive tackle, and Montez Sweat was not that kind of edge. And Dak is the most expensive quarterback in the league right now, which the Bears didn't have anybody like that. So they're in this win now window right now where it's like you need a defensive centerpiece. Like otherwise it's just useless to be paying the offense as much money as you are.
Well, if the Cowboys had traded for Quinnen Williams in the offseason, would it have been looked at as negatively? Like, maybe not. But what did happen was right before the season started, they traded away their defensive centerpiece. Their defense has been trash.
Yeah, and
has now played them out of like a good position to actually make the playoffs. And then they go and trade for a defensive centerpiece. Would we think about it differently if it happened in the offseason? Yes, but that's because it would be a different trade.
Yeah, but he's the other difference between Montez Sweat and Quinnen Williams is Montez Sweat was on an expiring deal and you immediately had to give him an extension, which he had all the leverage for because you're not going to trade for somebody as a non-contender and then just not extend them. So he got overpaid afterwards, whereas Quinnen Williams, this is still a move for 2026 and 2027 when he's under contract. And it's like, you need a guy like this for those years. You do. And it's stupid that guy isn't Micah Parsons. It's stupid that guy isn't Micah Parsons, but you can't. Quinnen Williams is really good too, and so that's where I'm kind of like,
I agree with that.
Yeah, he is really good, and I guess we can't just live in this world where we're like, well, everything the Cowboys do from here on out is bad because
right. No, like I agree with that, but there's more connection to what's happened with the Williams trade than just like, well, they made the Parsons trade, so that was. We're not looking at like the George Pickens trade and saying, well, or whatever. We're not looking, although I guess maybe I've said it is a little bit of a disappointment that they blew up the defense and like their offensive moves have worked so well. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But the Williams trade clearly is like in response to the Micah trade. And it's fair not to grade it on like, just like, well, I'm considering as well that they moved Parsons, so this trade sucks. Like Williams is a great player, but it does feel like the gap between like what they got back for Parsons and what they gave up for Williams is not that great. And it is a downgrade to go from Parsons to Williams.
It is.
I think the age does matter a lot here. Williams is someone you have to game plan around, but he's not like a mega unstoppable elite pass rusher. And even a lot of tier 1 guys aren't really quite as impactful as Michael Parsons as pass rushers. Like he's that good. So I'm sure Cowboys fans are sick of hearing about it anyway. I think Williams will be really good, and I think they'll have a chance to really improve their defense in the offseason. But I'm frustrated by their overall process. I'm frustrated that this move didn't happen until that they were kind of out of it because they've got some big games left on the schedule. I'm frustrated about the defensive tackle situation now with their payments. This is a ton
20% of their cap is going to Kenny Clark, Osa Odigizua, and Quinnen Williams next year. 20%.
And I mean, and all of those contracts have joined the team within like the last 8 months. No, probably even less than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a really, really frustrating way to get here. It's not an unworkable situation, and you got a really good player. And I haven't sat down and as a fan watched the Cowboys defense for the last 10 games. So I'm sure that those in Dallas are more frustrated by it and will be more thankful to have someone like this. But no, I'm not going to give this trade anything more than like a C just because of all the surrounding.
I can agree with that. I just don't think it's quite an F, but it is silly.
It's not an F. I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's an F. I think that it makes a little bit of sense, but I mean, I see why it's bad process. This is the fifth worst. This is the 5th worst defense when they play cover 3, and that's their primary coverage. It's the 5th worst when they play 2-eye safeties. They're ranked 23rd when they play man. They can't defend the run. Like there's nothing that they're good at. And Quinnen Williams can join this unit. The Jets were a terrible defense. Like is he saving anything here? And I guess my next question is like, would it be better for the Cowboys to do kind of what the Jets did and say like, we've peaked and give away more assets instead of buying in? Like maybe because it does feel like they've peaked a little bit because even with Parsons, the core didn't really ever make that much noise. And now you've got Q.
How many assets could you get rid of if you're Dallas before Dak demanded a trade?
Well, that's the thing. It's like he's one of the assets.
Would be the guy to trade.
Yeah.
More than anything. And I don't know, like the Madden style rebuild where you trade away all of your great players for picks and then build a whole new team. I get it for the Jets because like their defense was mid and they're like really bad right now and pretty far away, I think, in some aspects. It's one thing if they do it, but like Dallas's offense as a whole, I think is still really good. But it's tough to tell what the direction of the team should be just because the way they got here, where it feels like, man, how do we build from this moment is so bizarre. I don't know if I'm going to go out and say that any one team should really just try to trade all of their good players outside of like the absolute bottom of the barrel teams because things can change quickly. Like I said, if they hit on a couple of draft picks and on the defense, which they have 2 first rounders, things could change quickly. Things can change quickly in the NFL. So I'm really good on one side of the ball, and I just added another star. Like, even if I'm frustrated with some of the like other stuff, I'm not going to say, let's go give up or whatever.
Yeah. And Overshown is coming back for them, and they also traded for Logan Wilson, which is much needed in their linebacker room. So maybe the defense can get like better way quicker than we're expecting because, I mean, Quinnen and Overshown, I mean, if Overshown is anything like he was last year, that's a lot of juice that is like all of a sudden being added. Their
defensive line now is good. I think they overall have a good defensive line, and I think Williams maybe doesn't have like a ton of pressures on this season, but he does draw a lot of attention, and that'll help everybody else out for sure. I'll also say this. I think it's ridiculous to discuss because the Cowboys can't tank next year. If they were to be really bad, they would not have their own first-round draft pick because they have given up the better of the 2 firsts. So I would say that it would be a really bad idea to try to be bad next year. And it's probably a really bad idea for teams other than like, I don't know, if the Titans traded Jeffrey Simmons, you'd be like, all right, I get it. Or like if the Saints were doing something like that. Or if the Browns had done it with Garrett, you're like, all right, I get it because of the cap situation, especially the Saints and Browns because of the cap situation. But even with them, like you understand them not doing it. I don't hate it for the Jets. I like it for the Jets. I think it'll be cool. The offseason is half of the NFL cycle, and now Jets fans, you know, you're going to have a bad regular season, actual games regardless, but you're going to have a lot of fun on Tankathon. You're going to have a lot of fun on PFF Mock Draft Simulator, and that is not worth nothing. So I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I want to yap a little bit more about the Jets, even if you guys are down.
Yeah,
sure.
Do you think they went far enough? Like they reportedly turned down a 4th-round pick for Breece Hall, and Jermaine Johnson is still on the team. Like, do you think they should have traded even more players than they did?
I would have traded Breece. I mean, I don't know if you're going to go through such a great rebuild. I mean, I'll say this. I think in the NFL, I've already said it, but you can turn it around quick. If you trade all your good players for draft picks, you're kind of committing to that probably not going to be you, right? Mm-hmm. And holding on to a running back that you can get value for probably doesn't make much sense. I mean, I guess Breece is only 24 right now. But honestly, if you view like you shouldn't expect any running back to be good past 28. It can happen, but you should expect things to be over when you're 28. I mean, if you're holding on multiple years, he's going to end up being like 26 or 27 by the time you're being competitive. And then like, I don't know, man, I might let Breece go be great somewhere. As much as like it would help you out of ultimate respect play to Breece Hall himself.
Contract right now.
It ends in 8 games, right?
If you got a 4th-round draft pick.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, at the minimum, I would sit there and make the play like, we're not going to sign Breece to a big contract, most likely, or whatever. Maybe I'll move him, and I don't want to deal with the comp pick shenanigans to try to like get the value back that way. So, yeah, I would have probably taken the 4th.
I did read that they were looking to get a 3rd for Breece and a 2nd for Johnson.
Yeah, that's a little expensive for both of them. And I don't know, if you trade away every single good player on your roster, I agree, like Breece can probably go, but like, where does that stop? Why didn't they trade Membu? Why didn't they trade Garrett Wilson? Why didn't they trade Joe Tippmann? Like, I think it's fine sometimes that like, I can be understanding of like you need some good players.
Yeah, I guess some good players.
I guess the concept is defensively, if you're bad defensively, right? But if offensively you're bad, then you're also a bad infrastructure for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And
right.
also, if there is a difference between where Sauce is right now and where M'Boue is as like a rookie in terms of what you would expect them, like how long you'd expect them to be good, especially at different positions or whatever. So maybe the logic here is like, are we going to be great? No, but do we want to have good players on offense for when we try to bring in a quarterback potentially this offseason? Yeah, we probably do. Because the second you let go of Garrett Wilson, like goal number one will be, we got to go find another receiver. We got to go find, another offensive tackle or whatever. So I think it does make sense to sell off the defensive guys, but to keep the offensive guys on some level. Hall, I still might have moved, but I can get where they're coming from.
I mean, if they weren't going to move him, that means they're probably going to extend him at least for another year, you would think.
Yeah.
This offseason. So we'll see kind of what they do there. But yeah, I mean, I like where your head's at, Theo. Let's just sell off the whole team.
That's not where my head's at. Like, I think they may have sold a little bit too much with Quinnen after Sauce. Like, I like the Sauce trade too, because I think
that's such a win-win. I really do.
I feel like the Sauce trade can be a win-win as well. I think watching them against Cincinnati without Sauce out there, in the second half, they were really successful with their man coverage. Like Azaria Thomas was a corner I'm really high on. He's kind of got some of the traits that Sauce had that were so special, like the length plus the fluidity. Like that's kind of there with him. And they traded for Jarvis Brownlee Jr. earlier in the year, and he looks like a good nickel. And then Brandon Stevens, he was holding it down a little bit. And I was like, okay, some young pieces are starting to emerge. And my thought was like, oh, they'll trade Stevens, like, and keep Azaria Thomas and Brownlee out there developing along with Sauce. But, maybe Brandon Stevens wouldn't kickstart a rebuild, right? So maybe that's like leveraging Aaron Glenn's skill set is like, okay, this guy is really, really good at teaching press man technique. So maybe we can get away with like some cheaper contracts there and feed other parts of the offense. And that's like some of the schematic advantage we have from having Glenn around, maybe. So I could kind of get on board with that. And like, yeah, 2 firsts for a cornerback. It's also super impactful. So like, I think he's not worth 2 first-round picks to me, but like, yeah, that is as good as you can get at the position, I think. So I liked that. But then once I traded Quinnen away, it's like, holy cow, this defense is going to be so bad because this is a horrible defense with him on the field. And I think he's incredible. And like what they were doing is they're playing man, but they're also playing a lot of too high man, where some of these outside corners get leverage help over the top or inside or wherever they need it. And that puts a lot of strain on the run game. And again, in that Bengals game, like, yeah, they were winning some of these man coverage reps, but they were just getting killed in the run game. Like, their linebackers could not fit. Quincy Williams, I would have traded him for a ham sandwich. Clemens is like, they don't have a good defensive tackle next to Quinnen Williams at all. So, like, now 2 of those guys are going to be up the middle. So they're just going to get gashed on the ground every single play. And there's going to be growing pains with the secondary, even though I think there's some younger, more intriguing pieces there. And it's like, okay, the infrastructure for the offense, like, okay, it'll be fine for Fernando Mendoza. That's cool. But even if Fernando Mendoza is Joe Burrow, you're going to be in this situation where this defense is going to take years and years and years to like rebuild at this point. And none of the players you draft are going to be as good as Quinnen and Sauce. And I don't know. I do think they got great value on both of these trades. I do. But it's weird to call the Jets big winners because they're not big winners and they're losers and they suck.
They were already losers because they have one win on the year.
And they're going to be.
And their defense was already, like you said, Theo, was like it's 26th in the NFL in EPA per play, but it's 8th in success rate. And now it's going to also drop to 32nd in EPA.
They're going to be terrible. I mean, they're going to be 2024 Panthers, 2025 Bengals type bad because they were knocking on the door of that already. And is the infrastructure for kind of a weak quarterback class like good enough to make this all worth it? Or maybe you should build around your good players. I don't know. They got good value for the good players. So like I understand marking it as a win for the Jets. They didn't sell low at all.
Yeah.
But it's a tough pill to swallow that they're probably going to lose more games still than any other franchise the latter half of the 2020s. Like, I feel like that's just still such a safe bet.
They're going to lose a lot of football games. I do think it's also difficult to trade players and build assets. And like, if you're a GM or a scout, you can't really plan for things based on what you think the class is going to end up being like, just because your job is on the line. Like, if you're like, well, we're not going to focus on it this year. We'll wait till next year. You might get fired, and then you won't get next year. So.
And with the stockpiling picks for the quarterback thing, like the Jets with Quinnen and Sauce would have the first overall pick in the draft. You know, like
not necessarily.
Okay, they'll have the third overall pick in the draft.
That's a big difference. That's a huge difference.
But I mean, the Cowboys aren't going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. Like, I get maybe they could trade up, I guess, now.
That's the idea.
It's the Titans.
Like if they have 2 top 10 picks or, 3 top 20 picks, like that's huge. So,
but if they're a top 3 pick, they're getting one of, Simpson, Mendoza, Moore.
I think the odds that like all of those guys are about the same come draft time is probably pretty low. I mean, we've seen it before where it's like you get to the draft and it's like, yeah, there's 3 quarterbacks and they should go 1, 2, 3, but it makes a big difference to have 1 and not 3, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah. And that goes for if you're trying to replace talent from non-quarterbacks. Of course, like, I think it's a fair call to say like, well, this doesn't mean that they just like win the rebuild and everything will go great from here. Like, you still have to make the selections, and there's no guarantee the QB that you take is awesome, and you could have been picking high regardless, and you're worse now, and you've got to make up for that in some ways. But I don't think that this is a bad move for them at all. I do think that they got good value, the direction makes sense, and the benefits will be even beyond just like the selections that you got back. So everybody is probably a little bit too big a fan of it just because it's like, again, it's what you do in Madden. Truly. Yes. I think that helps, but I still think it's overall kind of a good thing.
Fair. Yeah. And one more question I have about this whole trio of teams. What is your level of concern with going all in on Daniel Jones?
That last game was rough, man.
It's a bad game to make a call like this off of.
5 turnovers, and I'm looking at all of them, and I'm like, that looks like 2020 Daniel Jones. I don't know. It is tough, but also I think to some degree, you have to trust the other 7 or 8 games that we've seen from Daniel Jones this year, because most of that has been really good, right? And I think a lot of the pressure stuff that he had problems with most recently hasn't shown up until this game, even though the offensive line has been pretty much the exact same. I think in those situations where if Daniel Jones starts to kind of collapse a little bit, they just need to lean on Jonathan Taylor more.
Yeah.
Right. That's what the Eagles did last year when they won the Super Bowl. It was just, they would lean on Saquon all the time, and then when they needed Hurts to go out and make a play, he went out and made the play. Right. But the offense wasn't centered around we're throwing 50 times with Jalen Hurts. And I think going forward, that needs to be the focus of the Colts offense more than anything.
I think it's a risk, but on some level, like if you want to win the lottery, you got to buy a ticket, right?
Yeah.
If you roll into the postseason where you're just like horrible at cornerback, you're just like, guy off the street, or more realistically, if you're like making trades for Jair Alexander or, any of these other guys who got moved at the deadline for like a 6th and a 7th swap or something like that, like you can feel pretty confident it's going to be an issue, and it very easily could cost you a game, right? Like, it would be incredibly difficult to get through, even if you get Ward back, right? Mm-hmm. At least with Sauce now, it's like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that just crushes you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it ends up with Daniel Jones like turning back into a pumpkin or whatever, and that's it. And you don't have a first-round pick. But on some level, like if Daniel Jones turns back into a pumpkin, you're screwed anyway. It's not like not trading for Sauce then saves you.
Yeah.
So I kind of like them playing for the upside here when it's clearly the upside is that they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And like maybe Jones sucks again, but we've seen him not suck for about half the season now. And you're like, okay, it's possible. And if it's possible, we can't just say we're not going to try. I mean, if I was like, I'm trying to think as a Panthers fan, like I haven't seen them be competitive in the slightest and like for a Super Bowl in a decade, right? And if you told me right now that they could make a big time move and trade a couple of first rounders for a star player who would really take them to that next level, but there was a risk that the quarterback would kind of fall apart unrelated, like I would take that all day.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah. So I think it's a valid risk to take.
Yeah, the Colts really are a tier 1 team overall. Even if you look at the Steelers' loss, a lot of teams have lost games like that, right? They're still the 1 seed, and Sauce can outlast Daniel Jones in Indianapolis as well. Like it's
right.
not.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
If Daniel Jones ends the year blowing the season and just sucking in the playoffs, and it's like, okay,
Sauce is still on the team.
Sauce is still on the team, and maybe you can go get Kyler or something. You can go get.
Well,
you can go get Jakobi Brissett. I don't know. Like, you can draft somebody that falls. You can draft Sorsby in the second round. You can draft you can think of some other quarterback plan, and then the F1 car around the pilot is pretty damn good at that point because Latu looks like a star. Buckner is a star. Sauce is a star. Like Bynum was a good move at safety and has kind of calmed down the secondary. Charvarius Ward is coming back. The receivers all look great. Jonathan Taylor is there. The line is great. All of these things. So if Jones is what sells you at the end of the year, like you don't have to give him an extension right now. You can wait until that happens. And if you have to Sam Darnold him, you Sam Darnold him. And that didn't really work out for the Vikings maybe all the way, but that doesn't mean that it has to be that way with Daniel Jones. So either he plays well.
They've still got Richardson in the pipeline.
There we go. So, yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, they traded firsts for DeForest Buckner, and that worked out pretty well. He's a big reason why they're here and why they've hovered around 500 all the time, even when Anthony Richardson was playing so bad, and they were in the playoffs with Buckner and Rivers, I believe, if I'm getting that timeline right. So, yeah, I think stacking more and more good defensive players, like even if Jones blows it up, like the Colts don't have to be thinking on a 1-year timeline. They can be good for a long time. They don't have to be 1-year wonders. And now they're probably not. Like this is probably going to be a roster that contends for a while, unlike the Jets, which will probably suck forever. It's crazy that they drafted Wilson, Sauce, and Jermaine Johnson and Breece Hall all in the same class. And they were the 10th seed, and that was the maximum that they ever.
Yeah.
So that might douse some cold water. The Jets know specifically that big hauls in the draft can't always save you, but just don't.
You need to hit on multiple drafts.
Really got to have a quarterback.
You have to have a quarterback. You can't draft Zach Wilson. Like COVID year, Zach Wilson was such an insane fraud. They just had to avoid picking it. If they picked Mac Jones, who was like a little bit less of a fraud, they would have been okay.
The thing is that it was rigged from the start. I'm afraid that year, like there wasn't a card to play, right? I mean,
surely
it was
Trey Lance would have worked out.
Surely Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Mac Jones. Like, yeah, I guess Mac would have been
Justin
probably
Fields,
a little bit better. maybe Mac is good enough for long enough to keep you from like trading for Rodgers, and then who knows what happens. But yeah, right. I don't think they had much of a chance. There's some other trades that we have to get to.
We do.
Let's talk about the Chargers bringing in Trevor Penning. They've had a lot of issues along their offensive line this year. Does this solve them?
No. Trevor Penning is still the worst player in the league. Linemen are so valuable, and I think the trade deadline goes to show how valuable they really are. You want a wide receiver, you can go trade for Devonta Adams. You want a corner, you can go trade for Sauce Gardner. You want a edge rusher, or a pass rusher. Go trade for Quentin Williams. You want an offensive lineman, the worst starter in the league it is then, buddy. And why you would give up something for Trevor Penning, like, I don't understand. The guy is awful. He is still, like, I watched a couple clips from the Chargers, from the Rams game. Didn't take me long before he, like, just doesn't know his assignment, blows a block, and just trips somebody. Like, it's... He's too high. He's not very powerful. He's confused about everything, about blitzers in the run game, about stunts. Like, he cannot protect Justin Herbert any better than any of the mid-ass offensive linemen they have on their team right now. Like, he is Zion Johnson's backup. He is Pipkin's backup. He's Salyer's backup. Like, those guys are bad, sure, but this guy is worse than them. He's worse than them. So, like, I don't know why they made this trade. I don't know why they gave up something for Trevor Penning. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. I know they're looking to play him at tackle. At least that's what Harbaugh says. And I don't think he's a very good tackle. I mean, even like the dirty stuff aside and the Senior Bowl and all that stuff that we didn't like when he was coming out of the draft or whatever. I just don't think he's like very quick getting back. It doesn't seem like he does a good job, getting out and defending the edge. And then he's obviously, if he has to overcommit to that, then he can get beat inside easily. I think he's got some juice as a run blocker. Sometimes, like, the nastiness really comes out, but even that is not like as consistent as you'd want it to be, for sure. So, I mean, they gave up a sixth for him or whatever. It's in
2027, so not even this year's
sixth. So, like, I guess it is what it is on some level, but I am in general against, like, giving up day 3 picks for guys who are kind of known quantities and not that great. I think that's not the end of the world individually, but overall bad process. So I think this is one of the less consequential trades that happened at the deadline.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about is Jalen Phillips, honestly. That's the other big. We haven't discussed that at all. It's really expensive to give up a 3rd-round pick for half a year of Jalen Phillips, right? But the thing is that Philadelphia is only spending a 3rd-round pick to bring him in. They're not only getting they're not giving up a 3rd-round pick for half a year and then he's gone for nothing. What their game plan is obviously the comp pick play here, right? Philadelphia is a team that is already very expensive. They're paying a lot of their own guys, meaning that they're not going to use free agency a lot, you can figure. If Jalen Phillips leaves after this year and they don't sign anybody, they'll get a comp pick back for him.
Yep.
And while we don't know exactly what's going to happen, I mean, maybe Phillips gets hurt again and he signs a 1-year deal. Sure. You can kind of project that as an edge rusher, who I think is like 12th in pressures right now, he'd be in line for a pretty decent deal. It doesn't take that much to get like a comp 4th-round pick. I think Hufanga for the Buccaneers gave the Niners one. And that's like not even a $40 million deal over 4 years. If I told you right now that Phillips got 4 years, $80 million, you'd say, yeah, that's not that crazy. And I think that would net you a 3rd back. So it sort of depends on how Phillips plays down the stretch here and what the market is for him. And maybe Philadelphia just brings him back straight up. But this probably will end up looking more like a pick swap, worst case scenario, than it does that they just got nothing or they just gave up like a ton. Because a 3rd for 8 games, even if you're like a playoff contender, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we know they needed help at edge, and I think Phillips is still a really good player. Even after the Achilles injury, he's fast enough and strong enough to beat guys outside. He can bend a little bit, and he's got some power. So between those two things, like even if you can still get an arm on him, he can run through you. And then he has like a great swim inside that he likes to counter with that. He's got 29 pressures, only 3 sacks. But I totally like this move for them. I think it's the best that they made. There was a couple of other trades they made for corners that I'm not quite as high on. Michael Carter for a 6th and a 7th. Somebody who I feel like we liked a couple of years ago is one of those nickels who does a really good job like getting downhill against screens or check downs, or is like a good in run support, kind of like a quick reaction zone guy that you want. But he was dealing with a back injury last year that made him really not play up to his standard. And then he's come out this year and not really played that great either. So they're kind of betting against that when you've already started to see some of the result. Who knows how it goes, but it's not awesome. And then, I mean, Jair Alexander has played, I think, 62 snaps this year and has been mostly terrible, right? I think he's let up 3 or 4 explosive plays. I mean,
yeah, his ratio snap to giving up a big catch ratio
is insane. Like it's terrible. And that's not counting one like Palmer got him like really bad. And it was a horrible underthrow that led to, maybe not a horrible underthrow, but it was an underthrow that led to PI. So that doesn't show up, but it's there. It covers 0. He got routed up by Keon Coleman. I remember like we were talking again, we're like, oh man, Keon looks really good. I think part of that was Alexander covering him in a couple of moments. So
maybe
I think, look, a 7-for-6 swap again, like it's not the end of the world. And is Philadelphia trying on corner like a good thing? Yeah, because we know corner 2 is an issue for him as well. And I know with Michael Carter, like they're going to have him like as possibly a safety sometimes, and we'll see how that goes. I think they're cross training him, and he could be versatile, but I didn't love those 2 moves as much as I liked the Jalen Phillips play.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair. I'll give a quick shout out to the 32-team fantasy league, though. John Mechie going to the Jets. I think he's going to get some real burn there.
And they got AD Mitchell.
Bench?
They got AD Mitchell as well.
We didn't even talk about that. Well, we know what the story is with Mitchell. I mean, I don't mind the Jets getting him back, right? He's clearly very talented in terms of like his ability to make really difficult breaks as a route runner, right? At speed. Like he's a crazy athlete, but there's just something about like the timing at which he does everything that makes it really difficult for guys to actually throw to him. Unfortunately, it's like inverse Amon-Ra St. Brown in a way, right? Where Amon-Ra is like just so clean and so quick and so timely and so consistent. AD Mitchell is kind of on the other end of the spectrum, at least in terms of that one skill. So it's a type of guy that a team that is now trying to be bad wouldn't mind taking on to see what he's got. Does he have 1 year after this, or is this his contract season?
He must have a year after this. He must have 2 because he was a rookie last year.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you got 2 years. We'll see how that is. But you know, we know what the issues are. But I guess if he hasn't played that much ball, who knows? And he wasn't the centerpiece of the trade, luckily.
Yeah. Right. The Eagles also traded for Jacorian Bennett this offseason. So over the course of the entire trade window, which is now stopped but has been open all year, they've traded for 3 different just random corners, which is just such a Howie Roseman thing to be doing.
Just take a lot of shots, man. Someone's bound to hit, you know?
Because they're not when they're all like bottom of the roster players. Like you can dig through a lot of.
But here's the thing, right? You're
before
now in
you find a keeper
where you've got a bad number 2 corner. Okay, someone gives up a bad play, just flip him out. All right, next guy.
You
go in.
Rage benching is a big
rage benching until eventually someone plays a good sequence of consecutive snaps that they can start the rest of the year.
Yeah.
See, like Jair Alexander's a great example. I mean, like he was awesome, and now he's 28, and he's like pick swap move
he's
to
been
the
hurt
Eagles
a lot,
type
though.
of guy. Yeah, that's true. But injuries can get corners like as much as any other position. I don't want to make it out like Sauce is going to be bad because you never know. But even the greats, like they're not always good even past 30. It is a quickly aging position. I think that factors in a little.
Sauce this season is number 1 in corner DVOA out of everybody who guards wide receiver 1s more than half the time. So he's
a beast.
He's taking difficult assignments, and he's still top 10 in results and overall.
I guess
he might be the best corner in the league when you consider those assignments. Jair is not like Jair is not like that anymore.
No, not quite. Well, I'm just saying in terms of like corners can go kind of quickly, not in terms of them being the same right now, obviously. But I guess I understand it more for the Jets than I dislike it for the Colts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But I'm with you on Jalen Phillips. He ranks 4th in Brandon Thorne's high quality pressure rate stat, and Thorne looks at every pressure that happens over the course of the entire season. If you don't know his work, and for him to chart like Phillips that high getting pressure is pretty good for Phillips. It's pretty good. And I feel like Phillips is exactly like just adding a shooter for an NBA contender. Like, okay, here's a guy who can be a wide 9 for you, and he can get pressure, and he can green his moves and beat the tackle pretty cleanly because he's got.
I like that.
Yeah, he's just. He can go around the arc. He's got crazy bend. Like, he's really good with his moves. I don't think he's a crazy, like, speed to power guy. I think he can coordinate himself enough to get some push. But when it comes to, like, shedding somebody and finishing the play, that's where he starts to hit some ceilings. And that's why, even though he has all these really high quality pressures, they're not really ever translating into sacks. He doesn't have 10 sacks his whole career. And he's also hurt all the time. So it's a little bit risky for Howie to play this game where you are rolling the dice on the comp picks, because I'm sure they're planning on losing more free agents than they can afford. So that's a check mark. But is he going to stay healthy enough and get the contract you need for this to be a real minor pick swap for you? Because it's possible, but you are rolling the dice, and any pick you do get is going to be in 2027. Sure. But for a contender, it's just easy to win these deals. Like when the Chiefs traded for Kadarius Toney was terrible, but he had one great punt return that swung a Super Bowl. And so you'll forever feel good about the trade because you're going to be playing in those big kinds of games. And if Jalen Carter can get one real big sack in a timely moment, like bang, you win the trade, even if it's a third and you never see it again, because you really only need him for like a couple moments, because you're going to make the playoffs. He has
a Brandon Graham moment in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. And it's very possible. So I like the trade for them, even though, a third is a lot and his health is a bit risky.
Yeah. I do want to talk about some of the receivers, Jakobi Meyers and Rashid Shaheed, that got traded. But before that, of course, got to shout out our good friends over at FanDuel, because as always, they've got an offer that you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you will unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/podcast to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Disclaimer: must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus bet issued as non-withdrawable. Bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's talk about Jakobi Meyers leaving the Raiders for Jacksonville. They need, it feels like, just a reliable receiving target right now, with obviously their rookie Travis Hunter being injured right now. Won't be for the whole season, it sounds like. But then Brian Thomas Jr. just hasn't been himself, right? He hasn't been the guy that went absolutely berserk last year. And so I like them bringing in Myers. I think he's a very sure-handed target. He can make some plays after the catch. And they just need someone that they can get the ball to down, because they just don't have that right now in the passing game.
This is the kind of move I expect from the NFL trade deadline. Like, it's just a guy.
It's just a guy.
And we're supposed to talk about him for an hour. Like, this is what I was expecting from yesterday. We had a whole other episode planned about we'll talk about the Bears.
Yeah, we were going to draft Bengals
these
defensive
games,
players.
And then it was actually an intense trade deadline. But now we get to the part where it's like, the Jaguars got a guy and they needed a guy.
Yeah, we do get to that part. I don't know. I just like, do you still have hope for Jacksonville as like a playoff team in any capacity right now?
I mean, they're 5-3.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I don't have hope that they can make the playoffs. Would they not be in it right now if they?
Yeah, they would be in. And Travis Hunter is not out for the year. He's on IR, but he's not going to be out for the rest of the year. So with him coming back and then Meyers adding some consistency, I do feel like they still have the potential that I keep talking about, but it's getting harder and harder. And I agree they just need a guy who can catch the football with Meyers, and Meyers is somebody who might be able to possess that timing, who might be able to, not drop tons of valuable passes. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has already suffered like more drops than the maximum drop quarterback last year. So it's absolutely ridiculous.
Also Trevor Lawrence.
I think it was Rodgers, and I think Rodgers was one of them on the Jets. And I can't remember who the other one was. But yeah, I think this is sadly the type of move that the Jaguars kind of needed to make. No one wanted to be traded more than Jakobi Meyers. Hopefully he comes in and things run smoothly in Jacksonville. Like, he does kind of have a quick pickup of the timing and the rhythm of everything. But like, we'll see, because that never happens in Jacksonville. Like, no one seems to pick that type of stuff up.
And I don't hate it as a move. I get where they're coming from. I think it does make like the wide receiver room a little interesting when Hunter's back. And it's like, I do question, like, okay, are they going to pay Meyers? Because he's on the last, year of his deal, right? And he's going to be a free agent.
Sure.
There'll be a lot of investment in a wide receiver room for sure, in terms of just like, your last 2 first-round draft picks, and you get a lot to get Hunter. But I don't necessarily hate it. I think Meyers is all right, but I don't think it's like some like great value play. It definitely does. It's a move they made more because of where they're at as a team right now, rather than it's like some awesome, perfect process. But Meyers is overall a good player, even if you had to give up like 2 decent day 3 picks for him.
I will say, everybody talks about his insane hands and how he had 0 drops in 2024. He does have a 5% drop rate this year, which is like not that special to have. Maybe that's just because he's not focused.
I wonder how many. Maybe he's not locked in, but I also wonder how many of those drops are being calculated as like Gino is trying to laser this into the tightest window imaginable, and it's just like there's like, if you caught this, it would be an insane catch. Like, it hit his hands, but like, dude.
Yeah, and his on target catch rate is 86% this year, which is pretty good. And that's a stat on Sports Info Solutions that I feel like is a little bit more forgiving to the quarterback than, or for the wide receiver than if you drop something, it's obvious on Sports Info Solutions, I feel like. And then there's on target catch rate, where like the throw might be accurate, but the DB is impacting it enough where it's not considered a technical drop. If you look at Jacksonville, let's see where they're at with on-target catch rate this year. This ought to be good. So we've got Brenton Strange holding it down 100%. You've got Travis Hunter, 88.9%. That's pretty good. You've got Diami Brown, 85%. Okay. That Parker Washington is at 85. Brian Thomas Jr. is at 78. Once you get below 80, that's really bad. Tim Patrick at 66. That's not good. And Johnny Munt at 57% on target catch rate. That's terrible. So, yeah, if he catches more passes than, like, there's a real chance he comes in and is like substantially better than Brian Thomas Jr. was this year, which is kind of weird, but that is the reality of their situation. So I think they got better and they're a playoff team. So I understand giving away the picks.
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried just because, like, Houston, I feel like, is starting to gain a little bit of steam. They lost this game against Denver, but I don't know. The game against Jacksonville next week will be very interesting because they lost the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I don't think that this is like a bad trade off the like idea of the Jaguars not being close enough to be buyers.
No, I guess.
And the Houston Texans are not really gaining ground because they're about to face the Jaguars with Mills.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
So they're not really gaining ground. it seems. I'm excited for more Jack Besh. The Raiders might have the worst receiving core ever right now. Trey Tucker is effectively their best receiver.
Yeah, dude.
Now.
What are you doing?
Nothing wrong with that.
What are you doing if you're the Raiders, man?
I'm throwing it to
Trey
Jack
Tucker
Besh,
a whole
bro.
lot.
I'm throwing it to Jack fucking Besh and making him the star that I know that he is.
Give me some Dante Thornton.
I know that Brock Bowers is he's paying off my fantasy takes.
He is.
You feel
Shout
me?
out Trey Tucker.
He went crazy.
The other receiver trade was Shaheed to the Seahawks for what, a 4 and a 5?
I think that's pretty terrible. I think this is my least favorite trade.
I do think like you immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, Shaheed is also on the last year of his deal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
correct?
8 games of it.
That's a lot for.
Okay. So, I mean, the game plan here, again, it's like any of these teams could let them walk and then get the comp pick, but you have to be committed to not using free agency then, which is fine for a team like the Eagles, or like not using free agency for guys who weren't cut, or like,
yeah, but it's not fine when you just traded away 2 of your upcoming draft picks and now you have 4 draft picks and you've got to fill out your roster without using free agency to get the comp pick. Like, you're probably just losing these picks for.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. And I guess the question about it is like, well, who's the odd man out? Because you just signed Cooper Kupp and Horton's looked really good, I've thought, like when he's played. And then obviously JSN has had a pretty good year his own personal self. I think Shaheed is a good player, right? He's a really good deep threat. And I feel like, I don't know what his on like target catch percentage is, but it does feel like he's got some ball tracking ability and some sure hands when it comes to like the deep shots being more than somebody who's just kind of fast and quick and can get in and out of their routes and sell things. So I don't hate him like coming to the team or whatever. And with how accurate Darnold's been on these deep balls, like it's easy to get excited about it. But it certainly didn't feel like receiver was their biggest need. And it's certainly not nothing to give up 2 high day 3 picks for somebody you also have to pay.
Yeah, it's just, I'm just not totally sure where you can put him on the field. Like maybe Kupp is really banged. Like he's got a hamstring injury and his heel is messed up. And I don't think we know if he's going to miss next week's game or anything, or if he's going to be out long term. But like he's always kind of hurt and he's old. And if he's dealing with multiple lower body injuries at different points, it could just be
right. It's like, I think that's yeah. fair to say. And he's always been an injured guy.
But Shaheed is not a Kupp replacement. So maybe Horton moves into like half role. Like maybe they're planning on opening it up and changing their approach a little bit. But it's like they really only need 2 receivers. Like they're famous. They're the poster child for getting into heavy looks right now and then throwing the football. So like, why is receiver what you need? Like, are you taking Horton off the field? Like, I just feel like you gave away 2 picks for somebody who's going to find it difficult to get on the field for you. He's just been a very average receiver over the course of his career. In 22 and 23, he was super efficient. He caught 17 of his 17 catchable deep targets. So 100% over 2 years. That's good. But these last 2 seasons, it's 5 for 11 catching his catchable deep balls. His overall catch rate on deep balls is 17%. So like, is he gonna raise Darnold's completion percentage deep right now? Because right now Darnold has the best deep ball in the league, and Shaheed has been inconsistent catching those for 2 years, and that's kind of his only real skill besides like return duties. But Horton's been good at that too. So he's not a good blocker. He's not a good slot receiver. Like I just don't see the path for him like being on the field enough to justify the cost. I don't know. I feel like that one's weird. I didn't really get it. I felt like Seattle needed somebody maybe more than JSN to catch like screens and be like the motion threat, because they use JSN on that too. And like, that's just not the type of player he is. So that's where Shaheed fits in, but it's like, he also needs to be able to fit in nicely down the field. I don't want him to just be a gadget guy. And I kind of feel like that's what he got brought in to do.
Well, I mean, it looks like it. I don't know. It almost feels like they just need bodies out there, dude.
Yeah.
Like if Cooper Kupp's dealing with injuries and Jake Bobo's questionable, and so then it's what, just JSN and like Horton out there? Like, and I get you can be like, well, that's all you need. But like if one of those guys goes down, I mean, dude, you got like
Derek Young.
Like come on. So I kind of feel like they just need
4 and a 5 is just kind of expensive though.
It is.
I mean,
if it was just a 4 or just a 5, then maybe I could get down with it. But it's like,
and going the volume route when you're already down some selections is interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to get a comp pick. I think they're going to need to use free agency unless their plan is just to trade back from first. But like, are you doing all that for Shaheed if that's not what's best for the board? Like, it seems kind of early to know that.
But this is another team that could probably win the Super Bowl. And
they could
end up making a play that gets them there or gets them close.
I think that judging trades like that is like nonsense, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I should have said something about it earlier, but like even the Tony trade, yeah, he did. I mean, on a level, like if I traded, okay, let me ask you this. Tony had a great punt return in the Super Bowl. How high of a draft pick would it have needed to be to still be a bad trade?
Fair enough. First overall pick. It's still good because he got a Super Bowl.
It's still good because he got and he had a big play. It's like, yeah, sure. But who knows what another person would have done in that? Or like, could you have done it for way cheaper? Right. I do agree. Right. I do agree that like the Seahawks are a very competitive team. So if Shaheed does some great stuff for him, or like you said, if Horton goes down, you're not screwed. Like we would start to get into like, oh shoot, now it's all the attention towards JSN and it's like doom the season level. So I think that's fair. But if like Shaheed were to come in and just suck and then catch like one like crucial 15-yard play in the Super Bowl, I'm still rolling my eyes. I know a lot of people disagree with that.
Yeah,
but like, I don't know.
No, I feel you.
If he sucks and then catches the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl.
It's always a little bit worth it. He's always a team legend.
And for a 4 and a 5, if he makes like a glorious Odell Beckham catch, like, all right, yeah, then that's worth it. But if he has like a screen that goes for 8 yards and a first down, and then that was all he was to do, but the Seahawks win the Super Bowl and it was like a good screen, like, no.
But what if it was that doesn't
make it a good trade by itself.
It's 4th and 7. And it's like, if you don't pick this up on this screen.
And he hits like a Braxton Miller spin move. Okay. Yeah. And it's worth it for a 4 and a 5.
He hits a Braxton Miller spin move. Yes, that's what happens.
You know, the first sunny day on a drought matters just as much as the last day before the rain. So just because you make the big play last doesn't make you more important. So I think you're right, Matt.
Yeah, like, you know, if Tony had that punt return in a crucial wild card game and then the Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl, I bet you people would be like, that Tony trade just sucked. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's kind of weird, but yeah, you're right that holding out hope that he just needs to do one thing to be worth a 4th and a 5th is
okay. I'll say a little bit. At the time of the trade, being like, it might not be great, but like, what if all he has to be? It's like, all right, well, we can't be planning on that.
Yeah. He just feels like a very pedestrian, like league average receiver. His numbers are very average. Like in his career, he has 54 defensive adjusted yards over expected. What does DYAR stand for on the defensive adjustment yards above replacement?
Yes, yards.
That's what it is.
Yes.
He's got 54 of those things. So, I mean, when you look at his success rate in certain situations compared to the baseline league average, he's a tiny bit of a positive, but Torrey Horton's already at 48 in his career. So, like, it just feels like you have somebody who is going to either see the field less, who is potentially better because he's like showing flashes younger than Shaheed did. And I just don't want to keep Torrey Horton off the field. And then moving to 11 personnel doesn't really feel like the move either. So yeah, I'm not feeling great. It's kind of boomer bust because he is somebody who can manipulate safeties, and that is his superpower. And they do need someone who's maybe a bit of a yak threat. So like maybe if there's an injury, he can totally save the day, but I don't know. It felt like a lot to give up to me. It felt like an overpay.
Before we get into the stay hot locks, I am shocked. I don't know if you guys feel the same, that the Patriots weren't buyers at all at the deadline.
There's a couple things I'm shocked by in terms of what didn't happen. The Patriots being buyers doesn't necessarily shock me, just because they would probably, the move you're looking at with them is a third for Brees, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Would you have done that if you were them? Is that a big missed opportunity?
For Brees?
No way.
I think I would have done that.
I would have been all right without it, man. Another pick on a running back.
Yeah, Henderson and Jennings.
I can get behind. I think I'm holding out a little bit longer for Henderson to come along. And like the idea, the Patriots are good, but I honestly still think I think it's okay for them to say we're
keep making draft
this
picks.
Thing up. Like we're gonna keep making draft picks.
I feel like
that's pretty expensive.
I think they could have benefited from like a Jakobi Meyers. That's a guy that I would have thought about bringing in.
I feel like they got a room full of Jakobi Meyerses. I don't mind them standing pat at the deadline. Like they really have played such an easy schedule. They're ahead of schedule in their rebuild. Like it's fine not to go all in right now. Like I just don't see I don't think that a trade now makes them genuine Super Bowl contenders more than just acquiring picks and making picks.
Yeah, I would feel the exact same about them if I woke up tomorrow and they had Jakobi Meyers on the team. If I'm being 100%
to be honest with you, like the Chiefs could have traded for Brees. That might be a missed opportunity for them, specifically, because their Super Bowl window is today, right now, right, and they need a lot more juice in the run game. And I don't know.
What else are you surprised by?
Maybe Trey Hendrickson's staying in Cincinnati. Like it feels like that he's an 8-game rental. It feels like he doesn't have much interest in continuing his career there.
You could have gotten a third for him. I mean, I guess the Bengals are probably going to play the comp pick game. Are they going to go sign big free agents? I, on some level, have my doubts. So I guess you feel like, I don't know, you might get a third regardless, so who cares? But I'm sure that some team would have been willing to offer like a third and a 6 or something, and then you don't have to worry about playing that game. And as it stands, bro, like he's not making your defense very good. Like it's just too far off right now for it to really matter. And they're sitting at 3-6 right now. You needed to be like 5-4, right, to feel like you've really got a chance to get back in this thing. Maybe at least 4-5. You couldn't lose the last game. You can't lose the games where Joe Flacco throws for 500 yards.
I agree. This horrifies me because I feel like their plan now is going to be to tag him and say,
would he sign it? We're not doing this again, bro.
I fear we might have to, because he always folds, Matt. And they're just going to be like, well, we can tag him and you have to play under the contract. Like there's such staunch, like free market capitalists over there. Like you're playing on the contract you signed. We have this thing at our disposal. We're using it and you're playing on it. And at this point, you folded to every other time. Like, why won't he fold this time? I'm terrified that that's what we're headed towards. Because like, why, if that's not your plan, why wouldn't you trade him while the market is crazy for defensive players this deadline or this off season? Like, you're still going to have Burrow next year. You're still going to have Chase and Higgins, and you're still going to need some juice on the defense to maximize your window, and they're juiceless. All the rookies they pick suck. So like, what are they going to do? Move Hendrickson now? They're wasting a year of Burrow without, like, aren't they in this exact same situation where they absolutely need him? Like, I feel like we're going to go through this whole fucking song and dance again next off season. I'm terrified.
Yeah. It's not good.
I would say I'm not shocked by the Bengals because of that. Yeah,
I'm not shocked, I guess.
They just don't do anything, man.
But it's the Bengals act, I guess, overall in shocking ways. I'd say I'm a little surprised that the Dolphins didn't sell a little bit more. I mean, we're talking about teams that could move off of guys. I mean, if my logic for Gardner is that, like, if you're going to go through a big rebuild and you've got a great player to position that maybe has like a tendency to age a little poorly, it's not a bad idea to move him. We've talked about Achane, like whether or not you should move him. And I've felt before, like, I don't know, I like him so much. Like, I guess I get keeping him. But let's be real, like you're stuck to a bad quarterback contract. You're going to be completely like trying to find a new way here. I would have really thought about moving him if I had gotten a good offer, or Bradley Chubb or somebody like that. So I guess they did sell Phillips, and that's like a pretty big piece, but
no Minka. I'd like to have seen Minka on a contender.
Minka, I figured wouldn't get traded just because they literally just traded for him.
Sauce just signed an extension. The Jets knew they were going to be bad this offseason. They had to know they were going to be like not a Super Bowl contender. This offseason, they thought Sauce was worth it. And then midseason, they think Sauce is not worth it. So like, just because you liked Minka earlier doesn't mean you can't sell him now. I'm surprised that didn't happen as well. I wish it would have. I'm surprised maybe the Bears weren't a little bit more active. I'll tell you one funny thing that happened to me, and we can maybe break down one more trade here. The Ravens traded for Draymond Jones.
Yeah.
And I turned on the Titans game, and I saw like this big edge rusher playing kind of inside and out for the Titans. I just thought it was Draymond Jones, number 53. I don't know why I didn't check beforehand. I just turned it on. I'm like, oh, I'll know him when I see him. I'm like, there he is. He's kind of a bigger edge, like kind of good against the run. Like, there he is. So I was watching number 53. I'm like, oh my God, he's terrible. Like, Draymond Jones they gave up a 5th round pick for this guy. Like, he's fat. He's out of shape. He's so slow. He's completely uncoordinated. Like, why on earth did they think Draymond Jones is worth trading for? And then I realized I was watching Jihad Ward. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I shouldn't have made the assumption that he was the inside out edge wearing a number in the 50s. There he is, number 45. And he looked about worth a 5th round pick. Like, I don't really think he's
potentially a 4th if they make the playoffs and he gets 2 sacks, I believe.
Okay.
So kind of fun conditions on it as well. Yeah. I mean, like, he's versatile. I think he's like at 280, but he's, somebody who's powerful, and he's got like a spin move to his game as well. I think he's got like 4.5 sacks in the last 4 games or something like that. So he's been really productive recently. I understand the Ravens wanting a little help at edge. They picked Mike Green. He has been not great to start his career, even as somebody who I've really liked from an on the field perspective coming out of the draft. So I think it's valid to try to save this season a little bit.
Yeah, I think 5th rounder if they do a good job and he does what he's supposed to, it turns into a 4th. Like, okay, that's maybe a little bit rich for him because he's not crazy or anything. But he leads the team in sacks. He leads the teams in pressures these days. He leads the team in QB hits. It's not saying much. Like Tavius Robinson and Nnamdi Madubuike, who got hurt weeks ago, are the sack leaders on this team. So you can't really have that going into the playoffs. But also Draymond Jones can't really be your sack leader either. Like, that's kind of the sad thing is like they kind of all have they're kind of all rotational pieces in terms of pass rushers, and adding another one, I don't necessarily know if that's going to make your pass rush potent enough to actually make noise if you do manage to claw your way back here. But yeah, he could easily lead them in sacks. I mean, he's got kind of that low, stout body type with long arms, which kind of makes it easy for him to forklift guys out of the way. And he's clearly a vet. He knows how to use his hands. He knows how to counter inside. Like, he's got some savviness and some looseness and kind of this cool body type, but he's just not really fast enough. And I don't think he's a great run defender. So overall, like, yeah, maybe he can get like a weird 10 sack season at the end of this year, but I don't really think he's going to be beating any like really any kind of tackle that can move their feet should be able to stay in front of him pretty good because he's powerful, but he's not like too overwhelming.
Definitely not. Real quick, Adam Schefter just tweeted out, Jaguars GM James Gladstone touted new Jacksonville wide receiver Jakobi Meyers' superpower to not drop passes.
Yeah, well, it was better last year than this year, so hopefully that's still true.
Hopefully it gets back on track. But let's get into the Stay Hot locks here. Last week, we went a little crazy. I'll say one of us went a little crazy. And Theo, it almost hit. You picked 5 teams. You have the lead with 9 points. You picked Ravens, Colts, Patriots, Jaguars, and Bears.
Stupid Colts, man.
Only one of those teams failed you, and that was the Colts. I have 8 points. I picked the Chargers and the Lions. Matt has 8 points. He picked the Packers and the Rams. And so now we're all sitting here back where we were, the same place last time.
I'm satisfied with it, though. Panthers got the dub. If that's what
you can't be mad
at. What gets me. I can't be mad at it.
Can't be mad at it. So Theo, we'll let you kind of pick. I guess we could just go same order if you want to, because nothing changed really. So if you pick first again.
Yeah, and I hit 4 of my 5 legs on the lock here, which is basically a win. If you just miss one, that you can round that up to 5, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, let me call FanDuel.
It's impressive to hit 4 of the 5, of course, when you have to hit all of them. Everybody knows.
Yeah, and usually on a betting parlay, they'll let you cash out if you hit a certain number and then right before the last. But here's the thing, yours broke early, so they weren't going to let you cash out of that. The Stay Hot Locks, of course, are brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. So Theo, you're sitting here with 9 points. Who are you going to lock this week?
I'm over my fear of locking the Bills, and I'll take them against the Dolphins.
Fair enough. It's hard to disagree with that.
Probably every week that this has been a game, it has been locked by the Stay Hot Locks. I wonder if there's ever been a Bills-Dolphins game where the Bills did not get locked. Maybe, did we do this in 2023? Maybe there was a game then, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to go next, Blaiden, or you want me to go? Pick.
Yeah, I'll go on ahead, and I will take I'll take the Broncos over the Raiders, and hopefully I'm not out immediately, but I feel pretty confident that this Raiders team, especially after trading Myers, is looking incredibly bleak against probably the best team.
I think Trey Tucker's going for 115 on pass.
He's going for $1 billion, man.
I'll take Detroit over Washington. Washington, not great. I don't love their defense's odds against Detroit's offense, and there's no Jaden Daniels. And then I'll trust the Colts over Atlanta. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL, even coming off a bad week. And Atlanta is feisty, but I don't know if there's any total guarantees. I mean, Arizona's feisty. I would maybe pick Seattle over them. Yeah, I'll go Colts over Atlanta.
Cool. I will take Seahawks. I'm going to continue to trust in Darnold and JSN, Offensive Player of the Year. Look, Arizona can be feisty. I still know who Jakobi Brissett is. He can go up against this trash ass Cowboys defense all he wants. It's not the same against Seattle, I fear.
Fair. Seattle, the number 1 most efficient team in the league by DVOA.
Yeah.
It's been that way all year, but no one has a better combination special teams, offense, and defense right now. You need a complementary team, and the Seahawks have been that to such an insane extent. Do I dare? I'm gonna lock Baltimore over Minnesota. I just think the defense is gonna fall at the hands of Lamar, and I think JJ McCarthy is still a level 1 threat in terms of a quarterback for the opposing offense there. It was good against the Lions overall. They scored a lot of points, but that had so much to do with the special teams. There were still kind of a lot of ugly moments. I just think Lamar's he's obviously melting faces. He leads the league in adjusted net yards per attempt as a quarterback again this year, and was an outlier all time last year. That is the number 1 thing that wins you games. And I just don't think the Vikings are going to be able to outshoot them. I don't think their defense is at the same level as it was last year. So I think the Ravens continue their charge forward despite having the all role player defensive line.
Cool. Will you take anyone else?
Will I take anybody else? I'm kind of feeling like a Raiders upset could happen. I'm going to put that on the table, but I'm not going to challenge you. I'll say that I'm done with those two after getting drunk and just shooting from the hip last week.
Theo, you know, we gave you shit for it, but it did almost hit. Like,
it would have been huge if I would have gotten 5 and you guys got
Daniel
0.
Jones didn't turn back into a pumpkin for Halloween, we might be having a different conversation. But I'm also
Close only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades.
That's true. Matt,
yep.
Do you want?
I'm good. I'm out after 2 as always.
As always, man. You're you know the math and you play it smart every week. So that gives us the Stay Hot locks this week, brought to you by FanDuel. Theo with 9 points taking the Bills and the Ravens. Myself with 8 points taking the Broncos and the Seahawks, and Matt with 8 points taking the Lions and the Colts. And that will do it for another episode of Stay Hot. Make sure you guys are getting ready for this next week NFL football, and make sure you're also subscribed to the Stay Hot Patreon page for all types of auxiliary content, whether that be NBA, or sometimes we'll talk about some of the games that we don't get to on the Sunday night record, that Monday morning release. But until then, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, from your favorite fellas here at Stay Hot, we will catch you on the flippity flop.